Hey there, race fans. It's Race Day Top 5 with me, Frank 5. Las Vegas, the place where you love to cash in, where you go all in. And to kick off the round of 8, some of the guys went in and had some good results. Others didn't fare so much. But the guy that did win dominated the day. Let's get into all that went down in Sin City. Number 1, Larson dominating Las Vegas. Kyle Larson captures the first race in the round of 8 and is the first driver officially locked into the championship 4 after he won yesterday's South Point Hotel and Casino 400, barely beating out Christopher Bell, Kyle Busch, Brad Keselowski, and Ross Chastain for the victory. What a day for Kyle Larson. Really, what a playoffs in general for him. He kicked off the round of 16 by winning the opener at Darlington, having some good runs the next 2 races after that. Then the round of 12, they kind of took a little bit of a step back from where they were running in the round of 16 and had some struggles. They had a nice chance to win at Texas, but right out late in the race while battling for the win alongside Bubba Wallace, had a top 10 or top 15 run at Talladega despite not getting many stage points. And then last weekend, he had to go through a roller coaster of a weekend where he crashed the car in practice, wasn't able to qualify, had to start the rear, but worked his way to the field and got significant stage points that helped him with his top 15 finish to advance into the round of 8. And yesterday, Larson put on a clinic, had arguably the best car yesterday. He was so strong, particularly when it came to the long runs and when he had the clean air, because once again, track position means a lot of these venues. He captured stage 1, he captured stage 2, and of course he captured the win late. Now, there were some things that Larson had to deal with in this race. In the middle of stage 2, just a couple of seconds before his teammate Alex Bowman hit the wall, bringing out a caution, Kyle Larson made perhaps the save of the year. The car got loose coming up at turn 2, drifting it basically, and just clipped the wall a tiny bit, and that helped control the race car, and he saved it. He lost some positions in the process, but then eventually we got a caution, and he was able to come and get some tires along with everyone else, and he drove back up there, and he won stage 2. Again, that was the save of the year. That was impressive. I was blown away. I'm like, how does a guy like that save that car? How does he do that? That dirt experience pays off. And the end of the race, Larson, when he had the lead, it looked like he was going to run away with no problem whatsoever. But as the laps were winding down, that 20 car Christopher Bell was coming because Larson was getting in the middle of lap traffic and reducing, the air that he had, the clean air. He's getting to all that dirty air, and Christopher Bell was coming at him at the end of that race. And the last lap in 3 and 4, Bell gave it a big run, and it looked like he was going to dive to the inside and get to Larson. I thought maybe he would have turned him, but that's not really Christopher Bell's motto when it comes to racing. But at the end of the day, Larson was able to get the victory, and him and Cliff Daniels make it to the championship 4. It's a big turnaround. From a year ago, they made the playoffs as the defending Cup champion from 2021, but they got eliminated in the round of 12 because of their bad result at the Charlotte Roval. They were able to overcome that elimination and try to finish the year strong when they won at Homestead, putting the 5 car in the Owners' Championship out at the time. Now, they not only can run for the Owners' Championship, but more importantly, they got a shot at Drivers' Championship right here. And I think right now, the way that they have been running in these playoffs in general, aside from the wreck at Texas, they have done everything possible and everything right to put themselves in position. And with that win yesterday, they're going to race for a championship. Will they be the ones hoisting the trophy for the second time in the Larson-Daniels era? Time will tell. We'll wait and see what happens in a few weeks from now. But right now, Kyle Larson is on to the championship 4. Number 2, Bell falls short. Christopher Bell has been so good in these playoffs, running well for the most part, but has been falling short. And for other reasons, he's been pretty much winning the poles. This was his 6th pole that he captured on the season this weekend at Las Vegas. And at the beginning of the race, he looked like he had a car capable of competing with the 5 car of Kyle Larson. Then he lost his try position for a little bit. He was able to get it back up there. But it seemed like in the middle of the race, the 5 car was untouchable aside from the save that he had off of turn 2. And it looked like Bell at times was in position to get the victory. He tried everything he could that last lap to gain on the 5 car. And he got to him. It was just too little too late. If he had one more lap, we might have been talking about a different winner in Christopher Bell winning than Kyle Larson, the 5 car, but unfortunately never happened. And I think Bell, at the end of the day, is going to be thinking over in his mind 1,000 times what he could have done at the last lap of that race to try to get by the 5 car. I mean, he had the momentum through 3 and 4 to try to get to the 5 car, but I think he just maybe needed to get there a little bit quicker early in the race because couple laps prior to that, he was racing hard with the 6 car, Brad Keselowski, for second spot. That might have been one of the reasons that cost him the chance to close the gap a little further and maybe could have edged out the 5 car at the end of the race. I mean, if you didn't race hard with the 6 car, Bell, you could have been the winner of the race. Regardless of that, it was still a good points day for the 20 team. I know at the end of the race, points never really mattered to him because he wanted that victory and everybody wants to win. But you also have to look at the fact that he didn't come into these playoffs with a lot of bonus points, but he finds himself 2 points below the cutoff line after yesterday's race because of that result that he put up and all the stage points he accumulated through stage 1 and stage 2. So they have a shot in these next 2 races to point their way in to the championship 4 or win. Definitely would help them, but he's going to think that end of that race over and over throughout his head this week until probably today and tomorrow, and think, I got to focus now on Homestead. I got to try to go win there. So Bell had a great run yesterday, but falls just a little bit short of a championship 4 spot for the win yesterday. Number 3, Truex. Track position woes. Truex Jr., Martin Truex Jr., had a very interesting day yesterday. They had a really good race car at the start of the race and were able to accumulate some stage points and seemed like they had one of the better Toyotas aside from Christopher Bell. Well, to start off stage 2, Martin Truex Jr. and James Small took a little bit of a gamble by staying out while everybody else pitted. And this was just a couple laps after everybody pitted towards the end of stage 1 when a caution came out for the 43 of Eric Jones, blowing a right rear tire and hitting the outside wall on the front stretch. Truex and Small rolled the dice and took the lead by staying out at the end of stage 1 and were the leader at the start of stage 2, and it looked like track position was going to be in their favor when they had the clean air. But as we got a couple laps into a run, the guys on the fresher tires went by the 19 car, and then he started to fade, and he was not happy on the radio. He was fired up, basically saying, this is not good. I mean, we've got to get our track position back. And from there on out, it was really hard for Truex to get his track position back. They were stuck back in the top 20 a lot, in the top 15. It just seemed like he couldn't do anything back there. And he was letting his frustration out on the radio while James Small was remaining calm, cool, collected the whole time, telling him that it's okay, we're going to work hard, we're going to try to get our track position back or get you the best finish possible. But Truex, I think, was ticked because he felt like we could have had a shot at top 5 because it's been a struggle for them in these playoffs. Winning that regular season championship really helped them get into this round because I can tell you this, if Truex did not win the regular season champion, he would have been eliminated last weekend. It's been a rough road for him. A rough run at Darlington, crashed out early at Kansas, survived Bristol enough to get in to the round of 12. Then they run poorly at Texas. They didn't really have the result they hoped for at Talladega. They did just enough last weekend to get into the round of 8, just by the skin of their teeth. Because if Kyle Busch had won that race, Martin Truex Jr. would have been eliminated. But again, the regular season championship and those bonus points helped him. And yesterday was, again, a little bit of a rough go, but at the end of the day, Truex was able to rally and get back inside the top 10 at the end of the race, finishing 9th, and remains a couple points above the cutoff line. It's not a big gap, but at the end of the day, being above the cutoff line is better than being below the cutoff line. So they were able to make the most of it. And that was, by the way, Martin Truex Jr. and the 19 team's first top 10 of these playoffs. That's how rough it's been for them. But they made the most out of losing their track position yesterday and getting back into the top 10 at the checkered flag yesterday. So, all in all, you can't complain about the job they did, but they got to do better in these next 2 races if they're going to be in Phoenix and have a chance at this championship. Number 4, Blaney with a solid run, then penalized, then reduced from a penalty. Yesterday, Ryan Blaney was probably one of the better Fords aside from Brad Keselowski in the 6th car yesterday and the 12th car, the only Penske car still eligible in these playoffs. He had a really good race car at a track where he's been known to run well at, hasn't won there yet, but he's come close a couple of times, had a good car all day long, pretty much hovering around 6th to 8th place a lot of the race yesterday. And it looked like that at the end of the day, they had a top 10 finish in their favor with just a couple points below the cutoff line. They crossed the checkered flag in the 6th spot and found themselves 17 points below the cutoff line. We're thinking, okay, that's doable. He can make it into the next round if he could point his way in these next 2 races. Well, after the race, NASCAR found that the left front shock did not meet the specifications, meet the regulations of the NASCAR rulebook, and therefore Ryan Blaney was disqualified from the race and was stripped of his 6th place finish and scored dead last. And he was also stripped of all of his points. And a lot of people were really upset about that because of the situation that it comes in, he doesn't really have a lot of bonus points in these playoffs, despite winning at Charlotte earlier this year and just a few weeks ago at Talladega in a thrilling battle for the win, even though he got the win. It would have gotten the win anyways because Kevin Harvick got disqualified. But yesterday, unfortunately, there really wasn't much that you could do about it when it comes to post-race inspection. However, Team Penske went in to file an appeal for the penalty, and just hours ago, yes, literally just about an hour ago, Ryan Blaney and the 12 team were rescinded from the penalty and were given back their 6th place spot and their points. NASCAR found that they realized that it actually met specifications. We made a mistake. Here's your spot back, and here are your points back. So it went from being 50 points below the cutoff line after the disqualification yesterday to now back to it being about 16, 17 points below the cutoff line. So 12 team caught a break today. They caught a break. But they got to make sure that they have all the parts right in these next 2 races, and hopefully they have a chance to maybe win one of these next 2 to have themselves an opportunity to compete in the championship for in Phoenix in just a couple of weeks. So what looked like it was going to be a rough go for Blaine these next 2 races with a disqualification, fortune favors their way today by getting their points and their spot back from NASCAR. So I applaud NASCAR for looking it over and correcting the mistake and giving Blaney his spot back. Nice job, and a good result after all that for the 12 team. At number 5, the racing yesterday at Vegas. I think, again, Vegas has put on a really good show, especially with this next-gen car. We had some good racing yesterday. Yes, when you get into clean air like Kyle Larson, Christopher Bell, Ross Chastain at one point when he overcame a speeding penalty on the first green flag pit stop of the day. Brad Keselowski was out front. Denny Hamlin was out front a couple times. Truex on those old tires, even that. We had some good battles yesterday on the racetrack, on this surface. I mean, you could just run anywhere around here. Bottom, middle, high groove. We had some good battles on the track yesterday. We did have a few incidents that involved basically right rear tire issues, or tires in general, which we saw in practice that it forced Chase Elliott and Daniel Suarez into the wall, and both of them had to go to backup cars, and both of them didn't really fare well. Suarez actually got a good result. Elliott didn't really do that well yesterday. But there were guys that had some issues. Eric Jones in the 43 car, again, brought up the first caution when he had a right rear tire go down, hit the wall, and then early laps of stage 2, his teammate Carson Hocevar had the same problem in 1 and 2 and knocked him into the outside wall and effectively out of the race. And then one of the wall was that with Alex Bowman off of turn 4 where the car, maybe the tire went away or he maybe lost it too much and ricocheted right into the outside wall, taking him out of the race as well. And there was an incident, a few of them late in the race, with Chase Briscoe in turns 1 and 2 with the right rear tire going down. And then off of 2, the final caution of the race, instead of the long green flag run, Ty Gibbs smacked the wall. Now, it was a cut tire and they lost the wheel. It wasn't really a loose wheel because the tire was cut at the time. So he had that happen. A couple of those tire incidents really hurt a couple guys yesterday, but other than that, we had some good battles on the track. Obviously, track position meant a lot because when you got stuck back in that dirty air like Martin Truex Jr. for a brief period until he got back into the top 10, it was tough to pass, and it was a battle back there for a lot of those guys. I mean, when you get back in that dirty air, you're not as good as the guys up front that you probably were earlier when you're stuck back that far in traffic. But all in all, we had some good racing and good action yesterday, and the finish was so entertaining, had me on the edge of my seat thinking, oh my goodness, is Kyle Larson going to hold off the 20 for the win, or is Bell going to find a way to get by him? That excitement and energy yesterday is what this sport's all about, and we saw ourselves a thrilling battle for the win at the end of the race yesterday. Now that race 1 of the round of 8 is done, we're off to sunny South Florida in Homestead, Miami, where last year, again, this track is so much fun to race at. You can run bottom, middle, high groove up against the wall, which I'm sure Kyle Larson will be doing a lot of. He'll try to repeat his win from a year ago and give him more bonus points and momentum heading into this next round, because even after you win yesterday's race, you can now focus on your car for Phoenix, but you'd also like to win next weekend, wouldn't you? You have the momentum on your side. Other guys are going to be trying to fight for the win now that Larson's already locked up a spot. There are 7 guys fighting for 3 spots remaining. Who will get one of those spots in these next 2 races starting next weekend? Will Martin Truex Jr., former winner there, and he won the championship in the process doing that? Will Christopher Bell do it on a track that's pretty similar to a dirt track where you can just run anywhere and his dirt skills can come into play? Or will Blaney, after all the circumstances yesterday and today, get himself into the championship for the win next week? We shall see. It'll be a very interesting race next weekend in sunny South Florida, with a lot of comers and goers and a lot of tire fall off. I'm looking forward to it. So subscribe, like, thank you for watching. Congrats once again to the 5 team and Kyle Larson on their very impressive, dominating win at Vegas yesterday. Have a great night, everybody. Let's go racing.